So, of course, I stayed home last night, had a really nice evening to myself. I put my baby to bed, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go and swim around in the Akash and see what happens. I do this a lot. Basically, when I'm bored, I just, meditate and swim in the Akash. It's kind of like my own version of scrolling, I guess. It's just more fun, to interface with holographic reality. That's like what I like to do. And it was so awesome to immediately be seeing this football field and all this attention being paid onto this thing. And so many millions of people around the world were focusing on this one thing. And meanwhile, in the background, there were groups of people that were utilizing this energy to try to manipulate the timeline, to try to create certain outcomes, right? This is what time manipulation magic is when they basically create these events where lots of attention is being paid to one situation, and then they try to steer the collective consciousness into a certain direction. It was kind of funny to watch them try to do this because at the same time I saw God's plan and I saw the earth being aligned with God's plan, and I thought I saw these hundreds of thousands of starseeds and avatars being on this timeline, and it just felt like these little ants that were trying to create some timeline, and they were trying so hard, and there were so many people like tuned onto this thing, and they were like, all right, we got millions of people now, we're going to try to push for this reality, and it just wasn't doing anything like it used to, um, because so much of these technologies have already been dismantled. And so one thing that I really noticed was this difference between finite magic and eternal magic. This difference between loops, things that are just looping and occurring in this closed system, versus cycles and spirals and the natural organic processions of time. And there's only so much energy, right, that they can manipulate on the earth when they're trying to control things and trying to create timelines that are not organic, that are not aligned with divine will. They have to work so hard to try to create what they want. So they have to create all of these different events and different wars and just create all of this energy to work so hard to control things. But at the end of the day, it's so limited because they only have the energies of the 3D to harness. What I mean by that is when they're trying to, control this world, the reason why they've set up all of these institutions, right? All of these people that facilitate their control system, the only way that they're going to be able to control this 3D physical reality is through creating all of these structures. Meanwhile, God is actually infinite. The creation, the universal reality, and the intentions and the co creation of the universal intention is actually infinite because source is actually eternal. So when you think about eternal energy, infinite energy versus the finite energy that they have, the only way that they've been able to sustain this closed system has been through the manipulation of time and space, meaning they've been able to sever the earth and humanity from the organic matrix so that the eternal infinite creation energy couldn't actually fully manifest the realities on earth. Sometimes you guys hear me talk about God being the organizing intelligence or the organizing principle of natural worlds. So you see that everything in this world has a divine order, and there's DNA, your eyes grow on your face, and specific trees support specific plants, support specific water recycling processes that support specific animals, and it's this perfect system that has a divine design. There's an organizing intelligence that is orchestrating this reality. We experience this organizing principle when we experience synchronicity or things coming together that are beyond our own control or our own manifestation. We see that when we are in a heightened experience or when we get closer and closer to embodying the organizing principle of God, that synchronicities happen more and more, and we feel like we're in tune or in harmony with a natural intelligence that is beyond ourself that we're all a part of. So that organizing principle is meant to create the reality here in this world. And that organizing principle is really the vibration of God, of heaven on earth. When we say we're creating heaven on earth, it's really nothing new that we're trying to create. It's like this organic harmony and symphony that is actually in the core of the DNA of this planet. This planet has always been meant to be a paradise, has always been meant to be a heaven, and human bodies have always been designed to be the holder and the vessels of divine intelligence. But something has interrupted that signal from making itself fully manifest on Earth, from being the thing that can fully orchestrate and create dominion in this reality, that divine mother, father, God creating the perfect kingdom of divine design. So, the only way that these beings have been able to stall that imminent destiny, really, right? The divine design, the destiny of a planet. The only way that they've been able to stall this process is by hindering the levels of organic intelligence that's able to flow into the planet. They've been doing this through rituals and wars and mind control and amnesia, right? Brainwashing, making entire generations of human beings completely forget our source. And this is really all time manipulation. So we're talking about the erasing and the distorting and the overwriting of history. This is a really big one because it's so much deeper than just human beings not knowing like where we come from and who we really are. Because, for example, there's a really massive planetary control spell that ties into how the Bible and the ancient Sumerians are connected. A lot of people just subconsciously believe that the Anunnaki created human beings to be slaves. And even people who have no idea about this narrative, because this energy is so massively propagated in the subconscious, there's a subconscious association with human beings being slaves. It's almost like subconsciously we believe that we're a slave race and we've always been designed to be a slave race. And this is the reason why this false history was inserted into human intelligence and the human subconscious, because it shuts down our original connection to our source and to our original intent of being a divine creator being. And when we take in and subconsciously believe that we are a slave race, we shut down. That belief shuts down our innate sense of sovereignty and inner power. And so when it comes to our experience here on Earth, feeling imperfect, feeling like we're not good enough, feeling like we're not lovable, feeling like we're not able to get out of the situation that we're in, feeling like we're not able to create the life that we want because there are only a few people that can become successful in the world, and the rest of us are just meant to live these meager lives, right? It's a spell because it's casting this belief in over our mind that's not true. It's not organic to who we really are. If we're really to pull those energy out of our body and sink into the core essence of our soul, we would know that we're these infinitely powerful beings that are here to experience joy and brilliance and beauty and pleasure and all of the beautiful things this heavenly world has for us, intended for us to experience, tended to provide for us. And so these overriding histories are so much more than just confusing us and disconnecting us from our history. It goes into the subconscious and cellular programming of who we believe we are, including believe that we were always bred to be a slave race and thus we can't ever get out of that situation. See, when we're already talking about this, it is dissolving that sensation where we associate those feelings as being ourself. We think, oh, I feel disempowered, or I feel insecure, or I feel not good enough, when really we're not the ones that feel that at all. Our souls don't feel that way. These energies are viruses. They are soul and mind control technologies that are being broadcasted into our bodies and our subconscious, and they're forcing our mind to basically associate with us and accepting it as being us. And when we do that, subconsciously through our upbringing, we associate with these energies. We're basically entrapped inside of those slavery energies. So this is one way that time manipulation happens, is that through the erasing of history, it is inserting these frequencies that sever us from our true sense of our eternal self. So another way that time manipulation happens is contorting our relationship with time and space. So this is how they are using the calendar and these loopy holidays that aren't connected into the true earth energies or the true star energies. This is the pointless matrix jobs that people will like be occupied with in a state of survival until they're old, until all their time and essence have been harvested. It's almost like, for the majority of my time, I'm going to do this thing. It's going to be the predominant loopy thing that I do in my life. And I won't really know why I'm doing it besides the fact that I believe that I have to do it because this is how I survive. Again, this is like a mind control technology because, there's our organic soul's timeline. Our soul has an intention for when it comes down into the earth. And when the soul is cut off from the body, since, all of this trauma in our society, beginning with not recognizing there even is a soul, and then through conception trauma, sexual distortions, and then birth trauma, and then trauma all spread out through the entire civilization, every single thing is designed to split our soul from our body. So by the time we're an adult, our soul is so not in the body, our body is playing out these artificial timelines, and we're essentially blocked from our soul's highest organic timeline of what our soul actually wants to be doing with its time. And so this is another way that our energy gets severed from the organic matrix. And of course, another example of this is just a little time that we actually do have. We're spending it on these energy harvesting exercises like scrolling on our phone, watching Netflix, watching football. And, at this point, like I was saying, um, whenever like I no longer have any desire to watch anything like movies or television shows. I remember periods of time when I used to, where that still felt like something my body is able to do. At this point, my body doesn't really feel comfortable in those states because there's organic energy consciousness flowing through my body, and it feels so much better to meditate. It feels so much better to go for a walk or be with nature or be present in my body, or even just meditating and scanning my body and going into quantum journeys with my consciousness. That is the organic, I was going to say virtual reality, but is the most organic reality. Like we don't need goggles to go into a virtual reality. It's like if we really understood what this reality even is and everything that it has to offer. I mean, the stories, like I close my eyes and I just ask the land to tell me bedtime stories, and I would see these amazing things about the ancient histories of the earth and the dragons and the elementals. And, we have this ability to commune with nature and commune with this very multidimensional reality in such an immaculate way. And all of those things have been cut off from us. We've been severed from those things, and they're replacing it with these things that they call entertainment, right? Like these concerts and these stadiums and football, right? These things that are so superficial in a way. They don't give your soul any true sense of meaning. I mean, unless you're just really good at receiving meaning, which is something that I really work on doing, by the way. It's like we can train our mind to receive blessings from the world through almost anything. Like, you ever notice when you're seeing things on the internet and you're just like, oh, this person is hijacked and that thing is stupid and this thing's distorted, and you're trained. It's like your brain has been trained to just be in that state of criticism and angst and frustration. And that's a low vibration that is one of separation that, it really feeds that reality. And as you heal yourself and you realize how fun and interactive this reality is, and you begin to retrieve your own organic curiosity, everything can now inspire you, right? Even people that you just absolutely disagree with, you can recognize that they're a human being that deserves respect and love, and say, wow, that person just helped me gain this thing, even if they're being a total jerk. And so, like my husband, right? He came home from watching the Super Bowl and he was just like, I am so excited to chase after my destiny and to commit to my practices and to be the best person I can possibly be. And that's literally what he got out of that exercise. And I'm pretty sure he could have gotten that out of anything that he was doing, because that's just the kind of person that he is. And so it's really opening my mind to the fact that we really are creator beings and we really are creating our own experience. And we can really train our energy body to be inspired and nourished and inspired into higher um, creativity through almost anything. Like anyone can teach you and bring you something of value, if even if you completely disagree with them or just think that what they think is totally wrong. And when you come into the state of organic curiosity, to makes us want to like chase each other with pitchforks, right? It's like we want to demonize things and say like, oh, that person, like that person's wrong. We want to make things wrong. And these are just the ways, again, that these viruses have gotten into our minds to make us exist in a state of war, in a state of separation. And when we allow organic intelligence to heal and purify our mind and come back into our unconditional love and innocence, we realize that we can tap into this eternal energy source that is so much more powerful than any of the things that we perceive as working against it. It's almost laughable. It's almost like, "Oh, that's cute. Haha, you're trying to create this, like, fallen timeline," but, like, do you see what's actually happening on the earth? Like, do you see that there are actually millions of highly advanced souls that's here to activate our DNA on an immaculate way that's transducing heaven's consciousness onto this planet and, like, unprecedented levels? And the things that we're about to, experience over the next 10 years, the things that these people are going to bring into this world and create is unimaginable. They're going to look and seem like miracles. And when you really tap into that highest version of yourself, then everything in this world, like whatever state, whatever level of consciousness that it is, you get this perception that everyone is exactly where they're meant to be. They're playing the part that they're meant to play. Even people that, maybe don't share 100% your same values and how you perceive things, you can see that they're playing a role in this grand symphony. And ultimately, when you just zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the organic intelligence of Mother, Father, God is in fact back online on this planet through you, through me, through the Earth's grids, through the dragons, through the water intelligence that is everywhere, inside every life form on the Earth. And it's truly incredible that this force is basically dissolving all of these time manipulation curses and spells and breaking people out. It's like so many people that used to be so disconnected and so bought into the mainstream narrative. They're almost like just naturally, organically waking up and questioning things. There's so many things that are happening in mass consciousness right now that are kind of like if you told me that like 3 years ago, this Fox News anchor was gonna get fired and then go and, like, interview the Russian president. It's just like these things are almost, like, ridiculous to our past self, but these are the things that are just happening in real life because they literally are timeline anomalies. They are already these very highly strange events that are unfolding. I'm not gonna say if it's good or bad, I'm just saying it is something that is unfolding, and that in itself, it's good. Um so, another way that this time manipulation is happening is through intentionally harvesting human consciousness and creative energy. This is probably one of the biggest things that's like the hardest to resolve because even now, so many of us are still locked in to that energy harvesting reality, right? It's like we normalize certain things like, oh, okay, like I just went to work. So when I come home, I'm going to relax. How am I going to relax? I'm going to just dive into my phone for a couple hours or I'm going to watch something for a few hours. And we don't realize that the most precious, valuable thing we have is our energy, is our attention. That's why I say we pay attention. We're really paying with the most valued currency, which is our soul's life force energy. So when we think about how much human life force energy is being sent into this finite reality that is not connected to source and is not connected to the earth, that is how this artificial matrix is being sustained, is all those people living inside of it and giving it its energy. So this is when we realize that we are here in this world and all we have to do is literally begin to retract ourselves out of that system, begin to reclaim our time and our attention and our hormones. And this is really the only work we have really to do. So many people wake up and they start diving into disclosure stuff and they get all, wrapped up in every single conspiracy theory. And at the end of the day, it's like, how much of your own creative energy have you retrieved to be putting into what your soul came here to create? Because that's all that matters. What you think and who you agree with and what you think other people are doing and who's right or wrong, none of that makes any difference at all. The only thing that matters is your creative energy and how much sovereign decision making you have over your time and your creative energy. How much freedom you have in exercising your time and your energy in the way that your soul is intending to, right? That is actually organic, divine free will, what free will even is. People think because they have the ability to decide to just go and smoke crack that that's free will. But true free will is actually your soul's actual ability to do what it's here to do. So, what is blocking the free will is actually all the stuff inside of our body and all of these time manipulation spells and distortions and traumas that it's locking you out of your own sovereign decision making processes that allow you to exercise your time and your consciousness in an intentional way. So, of course, they're also doing this through blocking the development of civilization. For example, there's certain technologies and certain medicines that have been around for 100 years and they just won't release it because they're trying to stunt the development of civilization. And this is because the development of civilization goes hand in hand with the development of human consciousness, right? When we have certain technologies, it allows for our brains to develop and to reach higher heights of our embodiment as an ascended planetary civilization. So if humans had free technology, that would free us up into just a whole other stratosphere of collective co-creativity. And because human ascension, human freedom, human heights of creativity is something that challenges their control. They're blocking the development of civilization. And that's kind of a time manipulation because we're being trapped in a previous age, essentially. And of course, the final thing is inserting anti human, anti life belief systems. For example, souls don't exist. We're unworthy. God hates us. We're sinners. Our body is just a flesh suit that has no intelligence. And we're not sacred. We're not divine. Most human beings live out their whole lives with this as the foundation of their relationship with themselves, and is a completely distorted reality because the truth is that our bodies are such immaculate divine technologies that have such an incredible miraculous intelligence. It's meant to interact and it has the capacity to hold all these different dimensionalities of intelligence and literally just interact with this world as if through miracle. And most human beings have no idea that that is the true blueprint of the human body. And why is that? Is because of mind control, this amnesia spell that has been placed upon human beings through distorted ideologies and education systems. So, as you can see, they've really put a lot of effort. They put a lot of effort into manipulating time, right? Even through astrology. I'm going to be making another video towards the end of this month when Pluto physically enters into Capricorn. And most people have never heard of true sky astrology, which is literally like the true maps of the sky. And this is another way that this time spell exists. It's easy for me to see that because I already see every other way they're manipulating time and consciousness. I already see how time and physicality and consciousness are all interconnected. And so when they have control over time and they bend time so that humans are not perceiving organic time, we're trapped in this time stasis bubble. We're quarantined in an artificial reality that's severed from the organic systems. So, um, essentially, we begin to exist in a mentally projected reality versus the real reality. The real reality being what is organic, what is the truth about our planet, that intelligence and trees and water and the elementals, they all carry so much intelligence, all these things that the ancient peoples knew, but the magisterium have, murdered them all so that they can control the narrative and the understanding of human beings and make us exist in this time stasis, this consciousness fragmentation and control bubble reality that's not connected to the organic reality, the earth or the cosmos. So, why are they trying so hard to manipulate time? It is because they're trying to stall the natural progression and the destiny of humanity. The natural progression is that humanity is evolving towards becoming an embodied avatar species that is fully aware of themselves as a container, as a vessel for the highest levels of God's intelligence to co create and experience ourselves as creator beings in this heavenly world. And because this is a natural destiny, obviously when we get there, we're not going to be able to be controlled. We're not going to be able to be siphoned. And these beings will lose their energy source, right? Because they've severed themselves from the eternal and they're operating now in the finite. The finite meaning the purely physical realm, right? They're disconnected from the source of eternal energy, eternal life force that is in the universe. They've severed from that. And so now they're in this finite reality where all there is the amount of water on this planet, is the number of humans on a planet, is the amount of life force that circulates inside this third dimensional reality. And so, in order to have control over that, in order to use that as a food source, they will have to control it so that they can sustain control over it. And if they don't manipulate human consciousness, then eventually humans are going to evolve into a place where that consciousness can no longer live and exist on this planet. So, this is why it's happened, but I mean, it's really futile. It's kind of laughable, and I just really feel kind of sad. Most people that are involved in timeline manipulation have no idea that they're a part of it, right? The football players, for example, like they're just living in the false matrix. They are just another asleep human being, just like everyone else, being manipulated in this game to facilitate a cause that really comes from other dimensions. Is these interdimensional beings that are deceiving certain humans to play the role of enslaver, of manager, to control and create the rest of the system. And most human beings existing in the false matrix have no idea that they are, facilitating or collaborating with that system. Um, but at the end of the day, that's just like my transmission on what time manipulation is. Again, I'm going to be making another video specifically on astrology and how it's one of the newest ways that I'm lucidly seeing this manipulation of time as existing. Um, and I'm really excited, especially if you're an astrologer. I would love for you to watch it, unless you're an astrologer that just is really attached to a certain ideology, because I am not attached to any of the things I'm saying. I'm purely sharing this with you because it is how I perceive reality. I hope that it is supportive and interesting to you. I hope that it just opens your mind and it just nourishes that curious part of you that is like eating it up, like, wow, this is so interesting. And the last thing I want is for you to just take it as truth. I really want you to like think with your own noggin. That should be one of my mottos. Like, I really want every human being to utilize their own brain because we're all going to think differently. And that's really, really good. The only thing that we should all agree upon is that we're each a human being and every human being is sacred no matter what they think and what they believe, even if their thoughts are completely the opposite of what you believe, unless they harm other people, right? Unless their thoughts are really evil and they can produce harm, in which case I think we can all agree that those things we are should not exist. But if we just have these ideas because they're fun and there's things that we authentically have a relationship with, I just feel like there's just such a deep virus in our bodies that pit us against each other based on our ideologies. And that is something that's really active in humanity right now, right? Like so many of our wars, they're not fought over food and land. They're really fought over ideologies and ideologies that aren't even like so far apart. It's just like the mind, this need to be right, this need to somehow sustain power and domination. I don't know exactly what it is, but it is deeply ingrained in a lot of human beings, even ones that, believe to be really awake. It's like if we're quick to throw somebody in the trash, like throw a human being's dignity out the window just because you disagree with a thought they have. That's something that needs to be looked at inside of ourselves because it just shows us that there's a virus, there's a parasite living in our body because that's not our organic state of being. And that's all it is. Like, I don't even want anybody to feel bad because we've all been hijacked, we've been hacked with consciousness and energetic viruses that make us believe and think and act in ways that are not organic to human nature. And they even try to confuse us about what human nature is, right? They're like, oh, are humans naturally evil? Are humans? I know in the heart of my being that humans are designed to be a reflection of cosmic intelligence, divine love, compassion, joy, creativity, expansion. These are the things at the core of the original human template. When we are suffering or just brought down by these distortions in our light body, you know, we start to see ourselves act in ways that aren't true to ourselves. And it's because these viruses have made their way into our body through mind control, through inception, through trauma, right? You think about the amount of interference there is in the world, in the movies, in the video games, like it's all inserting frequencies into our light body. This is why so much of my work has to do with bio-regenesis and the healing of our light body, and recognizing that waking up, coming to realizations of everything that I'm saying is true, is literally the first step. After that is the excavation of your own internal world that's still broadcasting and co-creating all those things that we talked about. And the funniest thing is when people have a mental understanding of the awakening and then act in completely opposite ways, are impatient, are judgmental, are rude, and even, communication wise, communicatively violent, disrespectful, right? Cannot engage with these energies of mutual respect and true unity because these anti-life, anti-human separation viruses are still living inside of our body. And, we've all been infected by this from going to school, from watching TV, and it's none of our faults. It's not because any of us are made imperfect. It's just that this is the next level of work that we have to do. And so I'm really excited to let you know that we had such a powerful opening week to womb wealth creation on Saturday. And it's really hard for me to describe what this work really is, but it really is initiating the templates of original creation. It's really incredible to see like how many people have never even come into contact with this original intelligence of purity and innocence and true divine love that's grounded in our body, right, in nature. And it's really this genetic upgrade, this frequency activation. And this weekend, we talked about breaking of these timeline enslavement spells and the things that make us believe that we're in poverty and, that we're not good enough. And, people were having extraordinary experiences breaking through these things just because of this signal that I'm transmitting to you right now, even through this energy, this transmission. This is really just the simplicity of this miracle work is like as soon as our consciousness comes into contact with the energy of original creation, the false reality begins to crumble because our body is made of the organic and our soul is made of the organic. And the only reason that they can be deceived is because they've done such a good job at hiding the organic from us since we were born, right? By giving us this false idea of what reality really is. And so every one of our distortions and shame and fear and sadness and depression and disease, all of those things only can exist when our body is being forced to exist in a finite, severed reality. As soon as our consciousness and our energy body gets reconnected to the organic, everything begins to come back into divine right order, which is why miracle healing literally happens in these spaces. It's not, I'm not doing anything. It's literally just your body coming back home. And I think the only gift that I'm so blessed to get to share is just this understanding of what is really happening and to get to hold that space of original creation so that we can engage in original creation science directly with our body, engage in multidimensional healing directly with our body. This is the first step in reclaiming the natural reality, we're working on building wealth because we realize that money is meant to be a currency. It's meant to be part of the organic, just like how the ley line systems were originally built to be a organizing principle on the earth, right? It's meant to connect everything and help everything flow and co-create. The ley line systems were built with that intention, but then they were hijacked and inverted to be a mind control system. That's why they have all these wars and military bases and all these crazy things that they've inserted. They're inverting the old ley line system to make it into a control system. It's the same thing with money. Money has existed in civilizations when we had a deep level of reverence for the organic creation and for each other as human beings, for the individual creativity that is the potential of every human being. And so when we repair our light body and understand how to co-create with this reality, we actually have this opportunity to purify and cleanse and heal this process and currency of money, just like we heal the ley line system. And I like to say that money is an organizing principle. So imagine if God was in the control of all the money on earth, how quickly could we create heaven on earth? How quickly could we get all the criminals in jail? How quickly could we rescue all the children and create healing centers for them? How quickly could we get everyone on board on this process of cleaning the oceans and creating new education systems? And all of those things could be so quickly organized through the superpower of organizing principle of money that has been hijacked. And now we see, like in the Super Bowl, money is being used to create these experiences of mass hypnosis. But think about if that same number of people were in that stadium and they were all bringing through frequencies of the original creation together. That's one of my dreams that I know will come true one day, is going stadium to stadium across the world with my soul family and just literally restoring the light bodies of tens of thousands of people at the same time, simply by creating a harmony field of original creation. And we're going to do this together. And as we do this, we'll bring that harmony into the whole world. And this brings me to my closing statement, which is that these things, everything that exists in the false matrix, is a replica of systems that already exist. So, for example, the education system, the medical system, the agriculture system. Just because these systems are currently hijacked does not mean that in an ascended civilization they don't exist. So it's actually up to every single creator being to resurrect and purify and restore the architecture of those planetary systems. And you do this because you remember how those systems exist in other dimensions and in previous golden ages. So, for example, in the state of education systems, I understand that this is such a sacred duty to be a guardian for a soul to arrive in a new human body. And so these schools will be designed with the understanding that souls are real and there's a process of soul incarnation that is a very physical and biospiritual science. And when we have that understanding, we can curate the environment of schools to be so harmonious and interdimensionally open to allow souls to actually come through into their bodies. We will teach children how to meditate from the time when they're very young and just normalize their idea that their soul is actually coming into the body. Imagine if the soul actually never gets severed at all, right? That's my goal when I'm raising my children, is that I'm holding this harmonic field around them and allowing their soul to slowly drip and embody into their body as the body develops, so that they never ever forget who they are to begin with. And that is how we can exist. That's how the ancient, African tribes, they would sing these songs. And when I was pregnant with Kara, actually her soul song came through. And sometimes, often at night, I'll just sing her soul song as she's sleeping. And I see that her little body just gets so relaxed and so warm, and she wakes up so replenished. And this is something that we're just remembering how to do as a people. So, this is my closing statement, is that when we are in our creator being, when we're in our sovereign consciousness, when we know that infinite creativity, eternal source intelligence is actually our source, and we have access to that internally through our light body when we repair our body and our DNA, then we can literally, like, whatever exists in this world, we can repair it. Whatever power exists in the world, we can embody the true highest power, which is God. We can heal our bodies so that the highest power can flow through us and arrange our heart in right relationship with God so that we can open into humility and innocence and allow this highest power to flow into this world, to flow into organizing principles. And when you're embodied in that state of purity, you are ready to be an actual steward of wealth and abundance and money. For me, every single dollar that comes through my pocket goes right into our mission. We have properties, we have stargates we're caring for, we're building the Earth Star Academy, and there's literally no ounce of life force that gets wasted in this house. And that's really the highest currency is my time, my focus, and my attention. And this is kind of the energy that we're sharing in my course, Womb Wealth Creation. If you're feeling the call, it is for women to embody this high original creation consciousness of sovereign creatorhood so that you can just clear all of these viruses of self-doubt, poverty, insecurity that aren't even you, right? You've just been associating with it for so long. It's time to just be like, wait, that's not even me, and break the spell so you can step into the next level of your light, of your impact in this world. Stop letting other people's opinions and what other people think and other people's distortions and belief systems stop you from creating the highest impact that you can in this world because you are a creator being and you're here to sell out stadiums and you're here to create entirely new education systems. And you're here to create an entirely new ascended divine planetary civilization that's going to require for us to all work together, and just putting our all into it. This is how we're going to create heaven on earth together. And it's so much fun when we step out of the suffering and we step into our true nature of curiosity, intellect, and joy. And we're just having fun together while creating heaven as God intended it to be. So when you're ready, um, you can still join. The link is in the description. Is wombhealth.org/wealth. If you're a man, I'm working on transcribing these teachings into the Earth Star Academy, which is available to all men and women. It's just taking me some time because the curriculum is very big. And so, I know that it's such a brilliant investment of my time. And I'm just so honored that I get to transcribe and translate these teachings and bring them through in this way that's very digestible and a simple process for us to activate. I call it creator rehabilitation because we're really rehabbing our body and our light body from the trauma that we endured in the false matrix to become the original creational creator beings that we're meant to be in the intent of our genetic makeup. So that's it. All we need to do is focus on our job. All we need to do is focus on, what God has put in front of us. What is our part of the mission? Because sometimes these things happen, right? And we put so much energy like, oh, it's hijacked and they planned it and this team was going to win. And, these people are, we already know all that. And, at the end of the day, it just comes down back to this. How much of your time and energy is devoted entirely to the creation, to the accretion, to the manifestation, to the materialization of this higher timeline? Because at the end of the day, that is the only thing that counts. Not what you know, not what you believe, not what you think, not who you like, not who you don't like, but only how much of your own life force is sovereign, is free, and is directed by your soul and God's plan for all beings to be ascended and liberated on this planet. And that's really what I'm here to share and to help you with, to broadcast, and to share through role modeling. It's just how I live my life. And I'm just so honored and grateful to be on this journey with you guys, on this playing field of honoring each other as sacred human beings and together honoring the earth and honoring Mother, Father, God, and creating the sacred temple so we can restore these original frequencies of love and perfection and beauty and eternal radiance back to the heart of humanity, which is really the center when you pull it down and let it be simple. That's my mission, is to bring God's love back to the heart of every single human being. Doesn't matter what they believe in, what they've been through, that's what unifies us all. And when we really work on returning that love inside of ourselves, that love begins to move us and we begin to awaken and make choices, right? Make decisions in a different way. We begin to devote our time and work on things that, previously we might not even think of. That's really the space that miraculous solutions can come through because God is infinite. God is all knowing. God is infinitely capable. And every problem that we see on the earth is a solution that's waiting to be born through you. And the only way that we're going to be able to access those solutions is by coming into a frequency match with that true original living consciousness of heart's devotion, purity, innocence, and true motivation of love and prosperity and ascension and liberation for all of human beings and all of Mother Earth. So, yeah, if you're excited to hop into this medicine container, we are literally, I mean, it's just insane the feedback that I'm already getting back from people just in the first week. The ceremony was so deep, and people are saying they've already gotten their full money's worth just in the first week, and we've barely gotten started. There are 470 women now in the container. And one thing that I say is that we're just praying together. And what I'm encouraging is for us to all to pray for ourselves and also pray for each other. And that is creating such a beautiful field where you know that there are 470 women out there praying for you and your success and your embodiment and your highest timeline. And that itself heals all the sisterhood wounds because we know that we all are united by one dream and we're all on the same team, regardless of how we are meant to play our role. So, on that note, this brings my transmission to an end. I'm just going to scroll through and see if there are any questions. I hope you enjoyed this chat. Um, Oracle I says, does womb wealth apply to women over 50? We have a lot of women over 50. It just really depends on what your body feels called to do. We have women that are in their 70s that are in the container that are getting so much out of it that say they've never been a part of anything like it, which is just like really touching to my heart because truly this medicine is so unique. This is probably the thing that I hear the most is that people say, there's so many courses out there, but they join and they just had no idea that this was even a possibility, that this kind of ceremony, this kind of medicine, this kind of experience exists. And it's just, I don't take credit for it. It's just what comes through me. But what I will say is that I really did dedicate the past decade of my life to purifying my consciousness and aligning to the purest intention of service. And when we become the receptacle, we allow magic to come through us. And so the deeper that we sink into that inner work, the greater magic can flow through us. It's funny because a lot of people have it flipped and they focus on acquiring power and wanting people to affirm that they're the greatest thing on earth. And the more they do that, the more they push away the very thing that they really want, which is, for God to trust them, essentially. And so that's how we work. We're all working on cleansing and purifying and maturing and evolving ourselves into embodying the avatars that we truly are. How would an avatar show up in their day-to-day life? How would they talk to themselves? How would they hold themselves in their body? How would they hold space for their emotions and their day-to-day life, And when you develop emotional capacity and emotional intelligence and emotional maturity, these magic powers, they come online by a natural byproduct of that because, our superpowers, they have safeties on them as they should. When I was waking up and 18 years old, I remember, my superpowers coming online and I had, just these crazy things would happen. I'd be terrified. I'm like, I don't know if I have the moral capacity to have these superpowers. And so I promised myself that I would never take any psychedelics because that's what would happen is that the psychedelics would activate my abilities prematurely. I say I would never take any of those things. I would devote myself to organically awakening because I need to know that I can be responsible and I can be worthy of my powers. And that's the only thing that I focused on. I didn't try to open my third eye or try to go into the Akash. All of those things came naturally when I became the person that was worthy of those things. And that's how we work in the temple. We heal our light body, we heal our emotions, we allow our true soul essence to actually be able to flow through our body. And from there, what is ours emerges organically, emerges naturally. Um, and so, yeah, thank you so much for being here in this live. I love you. I hope you have an amazing weekend, and I hope to see you next Saturday in Womb Wealth Creation inside the Temple of Original Creation, where we are returning these original, eternal, living light and consciousness back onto the earth, which flows into the grids, into every cell, every DNA, every water molecule. And as every field is harmonized by this frequency of pure love, the only thing that can be created is heaven on earth. And that is what we are unified together to bring about, which is just the highest celebration ever. So, mahalo to the 333 of you that are tuning in here live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next transmission. Bye for now.